states the date you assess the child. The date you assess the child, that is the date of visit. Now, the second, and also on that date of visit, you will have to be careful on your date format. If you look at the date format that is in the system that is shared, you will see that the format is month, date, and year. In some other systems, you will have date, month, and year. So you have to be very much aware of the date format that you have in your system. So I want us to look at that date format and have a date. So we have the date of visit. Let's have it as today, 28th September 2024. Now, let's have the next. I don't know if we have typed it. It's already there, date of visit. We are going to use 28th September 2024. That is 28/9/2024 or 9/28/2024, depending on your system setting. Now, the second thing there is your sex. Now, in the sex, you are going to choose whether the child is male or female. So the child that you are assessing, you must indicate. Remember, sex is a basic building block of anthropometric assessment. What it means is that the anthropometric status of every child is dependent on the sex. So right now we are going to choose this child we are working on is a female. So we are choosing a female. So can you choose female there? All right. So female is already indicated there. Now the next thing we are going to check will be the date of birth. Now, if you look at the date of birth, can somebody mute? Can you mute the? Yeah. So, yeah. Hello. Okay. So if you look at the date of birth, we want to check this person was born October 1st, 2023. That is, if you're using the, somebody say, I have not been able to download the right software. Where you just have to go to WHO Anthro, just type WHO Anthro software in your Google. You click it and check the WHO website. When you get to the WHO website, you just open it. You will see where it tells you the application or even show you the WHO Anthro to download. Okay, so let's move on. So when you get to the date of birth, you find out that the date is there. You can use your calendar. Can you click on the calendar there? You can use your calendar to select the date. Click on it. Yes, so if you click on it, you see that the calendar will come out. You can choose the dates of birth that you want, or you can type directly into the number. So let's type directly into the number. So on your 9, click on 9, make it 10. Type 10 there. Yes, because it's the month. Then on the 28th, type 01. Yes. Okay. So click out. or press enter. So it showed you that the age of the child is what? 11 months. So the age has shown at the down there that it is 11 months. So it has actually, the date of visit minus the date of birth will give you the age of the child in months. Remember, our indicator is in months. Now, there are two buttons there, approximate date and unknown date. If you do not know the exact day the child was born, you can click on approximate day after typing in the month and the year the child was born. When you do this, the computer will randomly select a date and assign it to the child to be able to calculate the date of birth. Once that date of birth has been computed, then the age of the child will be computed with respect to the date of visit. That is the date you interview the child. So that's what you use approximate date to do. So if a mother doesn't know the exact date, he doesn't know whether the child was born on 1st or 2nd or 15th, but the mother knows the month and the year the child was born. It's quite easy to put in the month and year and then click on approximate dates so that the computer can automatically generate random day and assign it to the child for you to compute age of the child in months. Now, if you do not know the age of that child, you click unknown dates. Now, click on unknown dates. Let's see what will happen. So if you click on unknown date, look at your indicators. So you will now find out that all the indicators that are age-based will be inactive. So they cannot be assessed because you do not know the age of the child. But the indicator that is not age-based, that is weight for length, was assessed. So uncheck the unknown date so that we can continue. Yes, so they have come back again. So we have gotten the age of the child now. Now, the next thing we are going to go is to select the weight of this child. Now, there are two ways you can. The weight of the child, remember, yesterday we mentioned that the computer cannot do the measurement for you. You do the measurement, and then you key in the data or the value you obtain from your measurement. So right now, we measure this child, and we got the child's weight to be 7.5 kg and 75 cm. That is the height. So the weight of the child is 7.5 kg. You can type in there, or you can use the button up and down to select the age. So I want you to use the button to select 75 in the length. Use the up button to select 75. No, that one is weight, the length. You have typed in 7.5 as the weight. Yes, the length, 75. So keep on clicking it until you get to 75. You have exceeded 75. Right. So you see that you can use the button or you can type inside the box. Anyone that is convenient for you, you can do that. Now, when you typed in or selected the weight and the length or height, which is in cm, you will observe that the BMI will automatically be calculated from the weight and height. And the BMI of this child is 13.3 as it is reflected there. Remember, this BMI is not the same indicator as the BMI of an adult. because the indicator is BMI for age, so that we do not start interpreting this value as such. So let's now move into the next, which is measured. Now, there is a difference between length and height. So you select recumbent when you are measuring the length of the child. And the length of children less than 2 years, or that cannot stand erect, are always measured as length. While children above 2 years and that can stand erect are measured using the standing length. That is the height. It's their height that is measured. Now, you must know what you use for the child. If you use the length, you have to select recumbent. But if you measure the height, that is the vertical measurement of the child, you have to select standing. Now, for any reason, maybe because the child couldn't stand and the child is above 2 years, and you decided to measure it with length, you are going to do a conversion to get the appropriate height. And that conversion is that any length you measured when you should have measured height, but you measure length, you are going to subtract 0.7 cm from that length to give you the exact height. Now, if you measured the height instead of length, that a child you are supposed to measure with length, but you ended up measuring the child with height because the equipment that is available is for height measurement, then you need to add 0.7 cm to that height to be able to get your length. So that is the formula that is used if you alternated length with height. But if you measured a child appropriately, that is the child that is below 2 years, and you measured it with length, you click recumbent. If you measured a child that is above 2 years and you measured the height, you click standing. Now, for this child that is 11 months, we already know that we are now going to click recumbent, and that is what has been selected there. Now, this child, the next is the edema. So, but we didn't identify any edema with this child, so we click no. Now, if you want to get the other measurements, let's say that you have other measurements that you assessed, such as head circumference, mid upper arm circumference, triceps skin fold, you go to their column, to their box there, and impute the values for them. So, but in this, our hands-on, we are not going to impute anything there. So we just want to impute the weight and the length. So we have put in all the measurements for this child. The next thing that we will now do is to look at the result. So below the screen, you will see the result. The result area has two basic areas. The first area is the one by your right, and what it shows is the basic anthropometric indicators. Those 4 basic anthropometric indicators that we identified for children 0 to 59 months, less than 5 years. That is what we call under 5 children. So we have one, weight for length, weight for age, length for age, and BMI for age. So you see that for all of them, you have the percentile and you have the z-score. Now, in the other column, that's the left-hand side, you have the other z-score, the other indicators that are not the basic indicators WHO identified. And they include the head circumference for age, mid-upper arm circumference for age, tricep skin fold for age, and subscapular skin fold for age. These are not the basic indicators, but WHO have them as indicators, but they are not the basic indicators. So the basic indicators we have there is on the other side. So what values are you going to see in the basic indicators and in the other indicators as well? You have the percentile value on each indicator calibrated at the bottom. So you see that in the percentile, there's a calibration at the bottom: 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100. That is the calibration. But for each percentile, the value is by the side. So when you look at weight for length, you will see that the value is 1.1. That 1.1 up, go up, yes. That is the value of the percentile for weight for length. Now, 7.4 is the percentile for weight for age. 66.2 is the percentile for length for age. And 0.8 is the percentile for BMI for age. Remember, yesterday we indicated percentile as a concept, and we said that it shows the extent to which a child is below or above the standard. That is why the values reflect the status of the child. So you see that for weight for length, the child is 1.1% below. And the maximum is 100%. That is when the child is at the same status as the standard. Then you now move to the other value you see there. That is the z-score. Now, the z-score values are enclosed in colored boxes. So the z-score values are enclosed in colored boxes. And those colors reflect the status of the child. Now, if you look at the z-score value of weight for length for this particular child, it is minus 2.29. And it is in red. What the red means is that the child is severely wasted, because weight for length, low weight for length indicates wasting. So the red shows you immediately that this child is severely wasted. Now we'll go over to the second one. So let me mention that the minus 2.29 shows that this child is minus 2.29 points below the standard, minus showing below the standard. Now, for weight for age, it shows that minus 1.45. Minus 1.45, and the color there is showing gold or yellow, the way you see it. That shows that the child is moderately underweight. Moderate. So the child is minus 1.45 points below below the standard. Now we also see length for age. Length for age is 0.42 and it's enclosed in a green box. What that shows is that the child is 0.42 points below the standard because it's 0.42. It's not minus, but it's below 0.42. It's not 1. Now, but it is green, showing that the child is normal. The child is within the range that a child of that age should be. The length of a child of that age that is normal should be. So this child is not stunted. The child has normal length for age. Then we go over to BMI for age. Is showing minus 2.42 and it's enclosed in red, showing that this child is also severely wasted because BMI for age and weight for length show similar indicators. They are similar indicators. So you will now see that this software have given you an idea of what's the child, the status of this child. By just putting in the measurement, the software automatically compares the measurement you feed in there with the standard, WHO child growth standard, and gives you the status. And to make things easier for you, it gives you the status in color. So that even when you are doing this and the mother is there, the mother can relate to the color because everybody knows that red is danger and green is life. So it's quite necessary that we understand this concept so that we now use it while we are doing assessment. Now, another thing you will observe is the icon. There's icon after the Z-score. And that icon shows the growth chart for each indicator. So can we click on that icon? Click on that icon so that we will see what it looks like. Have you clicked on it? Did it bring out the charts?
Yes, sir. There's a graph.
Okay, I have not seen it. Has any other person seen it?
It's showing on mine, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Yes,
okay.
The graph is out.
Yes, sir. I've seen it.
Okay, okay. So you now see that the graph there shows the child as it is. So can somebody tell me about that graph? Can somebody give me a little explanation about the graph?
The green line,
Yes,
the
sir.
middle, that median where we have the line where we have the median, it's the normal way the child's growth pattern should be. So when those indicators, those lines, colored lines above the green line, it indicates that the what they call it is more above the normal level, while below is lower than the level.
Okay, so did you see two lines that cut are like a cross?
Yes.
Now, those you see
Yes,
a
sir.
point Do you see the point where there is a circle mark?
Yes.
Now, what that
Yes.
means, this is where the child is. That is where the Z-score of the child is. So your child is within them. And when you look at it, you will see that the child is within the line that is below the -2 standard deviation. So look at -2 standard deviation. You see the line. So the child is below that line. I hope we can see that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's where the child lies. And the graph is weight for what? Length. The graph is weight for length. Now, you can still change that graph if we want to find the weight for age. You don't need to go back and click there. You can go to the top right corner of where you have graph. If you click the drop-down button, you can select weight for age. And the weight for age will still show you that the child is somewhere above the -2 standard deviation. And if you still select length for age shows you that the child is somewhere a little bit above that of the green line. So somebody said that she can't see any graph.
Sir, the graph is not showing on the Zoom screen. So I think those of us that agree that we are seeing the chart is while on our own devices.
Okay. So let me see if I can share my screen if this thing doesn't go out again. Let me share my screen to show this. Can you see my graph now? Yeah, I hope everybody can see now.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying in essence is that when you click at this top here, if I click on the top here, you'll find out that I can select length for age. And once I select it, it's going to show. There will be some delay. Okay. So I'm selecting weight for high yes. If I click on it, weight for length is what I selected, weight for length. So for those that have the software, you can still move on with it. So if I select weight for length, the graph will change. Have you seen the change?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, so you see where the child is. So you see where the child is. Yeah, the child is below the -2 standard deviation. That's where the child is for weight for length. Oh. So you can share again. My system has gone off again. So you can reshare your screen. Let's move. At least we have seen. Okay, it's back. Okay. So that is how you can change and get your graph at each point. you can still decide to use percentile. So you see, I've selected percentile now. So the graph have changed into percentile. So you can see the child is below the 3rd percentile. So you can tilt and switch all those things there. Now there is something I want us to look at. Going back to this now. Now I want us to observe something on this. If I select male, I want us to be looking at our results, the result below here. If I select male, do you see a change in the values of the Z-score?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what that means is that you cannot afford to forget the sex of a child. Because if you make a mistake in assigning male to a female, you have made mistake in the nutritional status of the child. Because the WHO child growth standard is based on the child's sex and age. So you cannot just forget about the child's sex or decide not to take the child's sex. No, you must get it. So you see that the Z-score for male and female are quite different. So it's very much important that you take note of that, both the percentile and the other, the Z-score. Now let's look at another thing. The child was measured as recumbent. Let's now click standing. If you click standing, do you see that there is a change in the Z-score values of the child?
Yes.
Yes,
So, yes, that change is to tell you that adjustment of 0.75 or 0.7 cm, not 0.75, 0.7 cm has been done. Now, somebody may ask me, how did this 0.7 cm come about? It came when the MGRS survey, that's the MGRS was done. They measured children, both recumbent and standing. And when they now did the analysis, they found out that a child that was measured standing, if that child is measured recumbent, that a factor of 0.7 is the difference. So they saw that it was consistent in all the children. So they now standardized it. That if for any reason, maybe lack of equipment or the child cannot stand or one reason or the other, you measure the child instead of using the right measurement. All you need to do is to adjust it. But good enough, the WHO Anthro software already took that into consideration. So it can always adjust the values. So these are the basic things we need to know in the WHO anthropometric calculator. And why I have taken time to explain this anthropometric calculator is that the other models are based on this calculator. So whatever we have done here is technically the same thing that will be done when you are imputing your measurements and seeing the result from the WHO Anthro software. So I hope we are able to understand this to this extent.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what we now have to go into is the interpretation of the results. The interpretation. So I have talked about the interpretation using color codes, but I want to share a screen with you now on the standard interpretation that we use. Let me get it. Okay. So I'm going to share this screen now. Now, if you look at this screen, you will see the interpretation for the growth indicators. And remember, WHO recommended using Z-score. So that's why you will see Z-score there. And you have the values there. So when you look at this value, any child that is, for each indicator, you have length for age, weight for length or height, BMI for age. This is for 0 to 59 months. Now, when a child's Z-score is above 1, that is above +1, the child is indicated as having possible risk of overweight for weight for length and for BMI for age. Now, if the Z-score is above 2, that is +2, above +2, +2.1, +2.3, it shows that the child is already overweight. And when the child's Z-score is above 3, that is +3.1, +3.2, the child is obese. The child is obese. Now, if we go down to the negative side, for weight for length and BMI for age, if the child's Z-score is below -2, that child is wasted. And if it is below -3, the child is severely wasted. So any child that is below -2 is already at the wasted level for the two indicators. Now, when you are looking at the weight for age, you will find out that the child, if the child is below -2, the child is underweight. And if the child is below -3, the child is severely underweight. And they are saying here that you look at the notes. Now, yesterday I mentioned that you do not use weight for age to check overweight. And that is what this note is telling you. Note 2, that a child whose weight for age falls in this range may have a growth problem, but this is better assessed from weight for length or height or BMI for age. So that is the reason why yesterday I mentioned that you don't just use the indicators the way you please. Each indicator, there is something that they are expected to assess. So for the length for age, you will see that any child that is above -1 doesn't have much. Sorry, my system have gone up. So, but any child that is below -2, any child that is below -2 is already taken to be what? Stunted. And if the child is below -3, the child is severely stunted. So that's what this value is telling us. Now, if the child's length for age is above 3, you say, note 1, a child in this range is very tall. But tallness is not a problem, but you may need to look at it in a very critical way to make sure that the child is not having any what? Growth hormone producing tumor that is making the child to be what? To have excess production of the growth hormone. So you have to look at that and to assess that the child doesn't have an endocrine disorder. So these are things that you use to interpret your result that you have obtained from the anthropometric indicators. Now, this is for 0 to 59 months. Now, let me share the one that is from, let me share for 0 to, let me share from 0 to, from 5 to 59, from 5 to 19 years. Let me share their own indicator. Let me get it and share. Okay. Okay, let me look for it. Looking for where it's hid. All right. So if you look at this, it's coming up now. Yes. So this is for 5 to 19 years, how you interpret their indicator. Remember, from 5 to 19 years, you have only 3 indicators. And it's only 2 of them that you have from 5 to 19. The other indicator, which is length for height for age, is from 5 to 19. Weight for age is only for 5 to 10 years. And BMI for age is 5 to 19. So when you look at this, you will see that the same applies for under 5, except in your BMI for age. In your BMI for age, if the child is above 1, you no more talk about possibility of overweight. That child is already overweight. So any child that is 5 years and above and the Z-score is 1.01 or 1.2 or 1.3, that child is overweight. And if the Z-score is above 2, 2.1, 2.2, that child is obese. And if the Z-score is above 3, that child is severely obese. So you can now use this to relate to the result that we obtained, whether the child is overweight or underweight or severely underweight. So that's the interpretation that you can make for each of them. Now you can get this document, I think you can get this document from the training, or I don't really know, but I will check and share with you at the end of this webinar some of these documents and standards. Some of them I had to retype them, and some of them I copied it from where the indicators in the manual, in the training manual. So I will encourage you to read the training manual for the growth anthropometric indicators and how to assess them. It's very much important, so that when you are interpreting these things, you interpret them with facts, not interpreting with a residual knowledge, what you feel like. No, you have to interpret it with facts. So these are the things that we need to understand in the interpretation of our results. So I think let me stop sharing now so that we can go to the next model. So I don't know if anybody has any question, just 1 or 2 questions or clarification before we go to the next model.
Oh, okay, sir. Before we go to the next model, we have some questions on the chat box. So I'm just going to read out a few that I got from there. So the first question said, explain the black. So because while we changed to male, some of the indicators changed to black. So
yes,
we want to know what that means.
Okay, the black is not applicable or not available. So you have the green, the gold, the red, and the black. The black is not available or not applicable. Now, in that, if you measured a child and the weight of the child or the height of the child is totally abnormal, not within what WHO database has, it will show it as NA, not applicable or not available. We will still see it when we talk about flagging of anthropometric indicators. So black means that it is outside the standard that you have set. So if a value is minus 4.0, the system will show it as black because you have set the system to be within +3 to -3 or -3 to +3. So anything above this range will be shown as not applicable. Now, when we get to nutrition survey, if you measured a child, let's say that instead of a child having a weight of 75, you now typed in 750. The system will show it as black, not applicable, that it is not a realistic value for a child of this age. So that's what black means, not applicable or not available in the database. Did you get that? Hello, did we get that?
Yes, sir, we did.
Yes, sir.
We did.
All right, all right. Any other question?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So the next question on the chat box says, do we have to subtract 0.7 or add it from the original measurement after we have gotten the BMI?
If you are using WHO Anthro software, you don't have any need to do the addition or subtraction because the WHO Anthro software has already taken care of that. All you need to indicate is that you did standing or that you did recumbent. The WHO Anthro will look at the age of the child on what it should be. For instance, if we are looking at the child of 11 months, if we click standing, that we use standing to do that, the WHO Anthro will automatically adjust it that you are supposed to use recumbent. And that is the reason why when we click standing, you saw that the anthropometric indicator, the z-scores and the percentile change values because that adjustment has been done. So you don't need to do that except you are calculating manually. Now, you do not need to do that before you do your BMI. You adjust for your height before you do your BMI if you're doing it manually. But in this age of computer, I don't think we need to start doing it manually. We need to start using WHO Anthro software.
Okay, sir. Thank you for that response. So we'll take 2 more questions before we move to the next module. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and you'll be called upon. So we have another question on the YouTube page. The question is, how do we get the manual?
The manual is on the website, WHO website. Just type WHO Anthro manual. It will bring out everything, even the ones I'm not aware of. So you will get the manual there where you downloaded the WHO Anthro software. You will see at one side where it says manual. So you can always have that manual there. So it's something that you can always get.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that response. So we'll just take one more question. Please, sir, shed more light on approximate dates.
Okay, now approximate date means that you do not know the day, D-A-Y. You do not know the day the child was born, but you know the month and the year the child was born. Now, all you need to do is to type in the month and the year, and then click approximate date. the computer will automatically add a day to it. It is a random selection so that it can complete the date of birth to give you the age. So the computer is helping you to get an approximation of a date. So you only use it when you do not know the day, D-A-Y, the child was born. If you don't know the date, D-A-T-E, if you don't know any of the dates, you don't know the day, month, and year, all you need to click is unknown date. So the computer will take care of that.
All right, thank you, sir. So we can move over to the next module.
All right, so let me share the next module. So the next model we are going to go in now will be, okay, so we have done for anthropometric calculator. The next model we are going to go in will be individual assessment. Individual assessments. Okay. Now, if you look at the individual assessment, it has similar distance with the anthropometric calculator. So we are not going to spend so much time, but I will indicate the basic things you need to know here. So let me share the software as it is. Individual assessments. Okay, so when you look at this individual assessment, on top of it, you see the individual assessment, and then you will see selected child and the rest of help. Now, when you want to add a child, now let me explain what this individual assessment is used for. You use this individual assessment to monitor a child's growth so that you can get the child's growth pattern or growth trajectory. And you use it for more than once assessment. So the child visits your clinic or you go for your routine visits in the community and you assess this same child over and over again so that by the time you finish the assessment, you can know the growth pattern of this child. So what do? When you get to a community, you want to add a child. So you have to click the green, this green cross here. The green cross here is to add a child. You can still click the individual assessment on top and click new child. So both of them does the same, both of them do the same work. So you either click the green button or you go here and click new child. Now we have opened a new child. You see here, new child. Then you need to first fill in the details of this child. So you need to fill in the details of the child, which include the date of birth. The same thing that applies to the anthropometric calculator applies here. You put in either the name and the first name and last name if you want to, for you to track this child. And if the child has an ID, you can still track it and put it there. So you essentially put the details of the child here. If you want to put the name of the mother, you can put the name of the mother and the name of the father here. And if you want to put their address, you can still put their address here. So that is for the first part. Now, after filling this for the child, that means you have created the file for this child. You now need to add the measurements, the anthropometric measurements of this child. How do you add it? You go to the visit. This is your first visit to this child. So you click this green add new visit, this green arrow cross here. So when you click it, it brings out the same window that we saw in the anthropometric calculator, where you put in the date of visit. That is the date you assess this child. The date of birth, you have already computed it while filling in the details. Now you put in the weight and the length or height of this child, and you select either recumbent or standing for the child, and then whether the child has edema or not. Then you can put in some notes there if you want to assess the child, if you want to put in 1 or 2 notes for the child, just like your normal recording. Now, the additional data you want to put, you can still add them over here. Once you finish keying in, you save so that it will reflect in the child's visit. Now, there's something I want to show us here is the key motor milestone. In this visit, you can check the anthropometry and you can check the 6 key motor milestones. Now, the 6 key motor milestones check sitting without support. If you assessed it, you click it. Now, if you observed it, you click here. If you click, it will ask you whether you observe that this child was able to sit up straight with his or her head erect for at least 10 seconds. If you observe that, you say, yes, I observed it. She or he does not use arms or hands to balance body or support position. If you observe that, you click, and it will tell you assessed. So what you are doing here is assessing the key motor milestone for this child. And when you assess all the motor milestones, you save. So you see that this individual assessment assesses both the anthropometry and the key motor milestones, and you record all. So let me still put 7.5 and 75. Let me just use this, and you say save. When you save, the values come here. You see that the child's this thing has shown here. It has shown automatically here. And if you went for the second visit, you say add for the second visit. So we are not going to do all this because I don't have the data, but let's now take, for instance, you have measured this child and you now want to call up the child's file. How do you call up the child's file? You have added all the visits and you want to call up the child's file. So we are going to use Kwanzaa Kofi because it's in everybody's system. It's a default in everybody's system. So we are going to use Kwanzaa. So we want to now know we have visited Kwanzaa for 8 visits and we want to assess Kwanzaa's growth pattern. So what I will do is to click on Kwanzaa. When you click on Kwanzaa, the name here, there is a brown box. This brown envelope will be active. You now click it. So it's asking me, do you want to save changes made to the current child? And I'm saying no, I don't want to save what I just typed now. So I say no. So it will bring out Kwanzaa's details. Now look on top. You will see that the child is Kwanzaa Kofi. Kwanzaa Kofi. So you can now look at Kwanzaa's details. He has about 8 visits. So what we want to do now is to know what is Kwanzaa's status at each visit. So if you click on Kwanzaa status at each visit, the result will show here, just like the result of anthropometric calculator. So I'm selecting the 3rd visit. The result shows. I will select the 4th visit. the result shows. So that is the way you look at all the results. But right now we want to check if you want to add another visit to Kwanzaa, you click the green button. If you want to open the details or edit the details of a visit, you open the visit, let's say the second visit, and then you open your brown envelope. When you open this brown envelope, you can see the details of Kwanzaa for the second visit, and you can edit if you want to edit anything there. But we are not editing anything there. Yeah, somebody is lost. You know, we are working against time. Okay, so let's continue. Let's continue after we ask questions. So when you now select this, if you want to delete any visit, you click on the red X. The red X there, when you click it, you can delete a visit. Are we all here?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Yeah, I'm trying to see whether I can cover up so much before our time runs out, so that any other thing we can take it during the question time. Now, if we now want to assess Kwanzaa's growth pattern, we click on the chart. If you look at the side, you will see the word chart. Just like our anthropometric calculator. When you click on this chart, the chart will open. The chart will open. Okay, so the chart has opened for Kwanzaa's visit. Now, within this chart, you can check for each of the anthropometric indices. So we can look around here and we can see the weight for length, weight for age, height for age, and all of them. So you can select weight for age. If you select weight for age, the chart will come out. Now you see that Kwanzaa at this first visit was severely underweight because the Z-score is below -3 standard deviation. Look at Kwanzaa here. So his gross, he was severely underweight. Now, this is showing only at one point. But how do we see Kwanzaa's growth pattern for the 8 visits? You come to this show and click on here. When you click on it, you see multiple points. If you click on the multiple points, it will show you the growth pattern of Kwanzaa over the 8 visits. That is what we call the growth trajectory or the growth pattern of Kwanzaa. So I have maximized it now, and you see the growth pattern of Kwanzaa. That Kwanzaa went to the clinic underweight, and over a period of 8 visits, Kwanzaa was now within the normal range. So the mother did a very wonderful work on Kwanzaa. Maybe the feeding has improved depending on the age of the child. If the child is, okay, Kwanzaa is 5 months. Look at it, 5 months at that, at the first visit there. Maybe the mother was not exclusively breastfeeding him, but over time, at 36 weeks, Kwanzaa started improving up to the about 40 weeks or so. Kwanzaa, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41 or 42 months, Kwanzaa was improved dramatically. So you can use this to show the growth pattern of a child by selecting multiple points. But if you want to see only at one point, you click on single point. So that is what you use the anthropometric calculate the individual assessment to do. So the interpretation of the growth chart and the z-scores also follow what we have done before. The interpretation follows the major indicators are there, and the z-scores and the percentile are used for that interpretation. Now let's look at the chart let's look at the chart for the motor milestone. So I'm going to click on motor milestone now and see how the chart comes up. So the chart is up there and you have the notes below. So what it means is that Kwanzaa was not assessed for any key motor milestone because the gray shows that child not assessed. So Kwanzaa was not assessed for any key motor milestone. But if you assess the child, you will see either blue, red, green, lime, or rose. So depending on the results that you obtain. So that's how you select all these things for anyone you want. Let me look at BMI for age. This is BMI for age. That's how the graph is. So BMI for age, the graph is like this. And if you are looking at multiple points, this is how Kwanzaa fared in the growth pattern using BMI for age. So if we still want to look at length for height or length for age, you see how Kwanzaa fared. So Kwanzaa actually grew within the length for age. So if you look at that length for age, you see that the way Kwanzaa was actually growing. So that's what you can do with the anthropometric individual assessment. Now, you can export the data because if you have so many data in the database, it's going to make the system to be slow. So you can export the data for any of the children that you have finished assessing. So all you need to do is to click export file. When you click export file for a child that you selected, if you selected the child and you want to export, so you go to individual assessment, export file. So you can now export the file to anywhere you want to export it to. You can save it in your system or in your external hard disk or whatever. And when you export it, it can now create room for your other assessments. You can also archive your files so that they will not be clustered here. The same thing you do with your normal softwares. So that is that for the anthropometric, for the individual assessment, for the individual assessment model. So can we take one or two questions before we go to the final? We have about 10 minutes tonight.
Sir, let's go to the final one, then we'll do the Q&A together.
All right. So I just hope that we will not lose some people far away before we discuss.
Kindly note your questions, write them down so that once it's time for the Q&A, you can ask, please. Thank you.
So I want to state again, the black values shows that the values, the z-scores you have is outside the range that you have indicated. The range we have indicated is -3 to +3. But when you look at this value, this is -3.90. So it will show black, except if you want to change your database, that you want to extend your value to -6. But the standard we always use is anything between -3 standard deviation and +3 standard deviation. But the z-score will definitely show that to you. -3.11 means that the child is severely wasted or severely stunted or severely underweight. Minus. So you see that anyone that is black, the value is actually above -3. So I want to reiterate that because somebody asked that question also. All right, so let's close this and go to the next we are going to do is the nutrition survey. So let me share for the nutritional survey. Okay, so that's the nutritional survey. That is the last thing, the last model in the WHO Anthro. That's the last model. Now, if you look at this nutritional survey, it's like our normal survey that we do. And it still follows what we have done for the anthropometric calculator and the individual assessment. So what do? You want to start a new survey, right? So you want to start a new survey. So what do? Just the same thing we did. You either use your green plus in the surveys, or you click nutritional survey, and click new survey. So it depends on the one you want. So when you click on the green plus, a new survey will show up here. So what do you now do? You input the name of the survey. You input the name of the survey here and any notes you want to add. Then if you want to manage additional data, you can add additional data and still use the green to manage that. But we are not moving into that. Now, after you must have opened your survey, let's say that we have NDII survey. That's the survey that we have opened. And then we want to now enter our data. So we click on data entry. So the data entry is open. So you have to, here you have the data entry and you have your results. But this is still blank because you do not have any data entered yet. So what we now do is to start entering our data. So you click on the green cross that is below the data entry. You click on it. When you click on it, to add your data. So you are familiar with this window that came out. That's where you put your measurements. That's where you include the date of visit and all the rest of them. Now, the weighting factor you have here is if you want to give priority to a child or you want to exclude the child from the final analysis, but you want the child's data to be captured in your database, but you will not use the child for the final analysis. All you need to do is to click it, the weighting factor to be 0. And if you have a child that you want to prioritize, you can put the weighting factor to be 1.1. A weight factor gives priority to the child or to the cluster that you are working on. So when you include all these things and you save, it comes up in your data. So and it will show in this database. Since we do not have time to start keying in, we are going to open a database that is already done. So we are going to use the MDNS survey. I think everybody should have it in their system because it's a default in the system. It's already here. So if you want to open an existing data or existing survey that has been carried out, or that you were adding these children as you were doing the survey, and at the end you now want to open it. So you just click on that survey, the name. Remember our brand envelope. You click it, and it will ask you if you want to save the changes you made. I say no. This will come out. So what you are seeing there is a record of 51 children. 51 children. If you look on top of here, you see 51 records. So this is the measurement of 51 children that you have gotten during a survey. So all the measurements were as you keyed it in, one after the other. So what you will now ask yourself is, what do we do with this data? What do we do with this data? So you can add a new child. We can add the 52nd child by clicking the green plus. For each child now, we can open the child's database and edit or view the data. So like, let's say this first child now, if I want to know all about the child, I will click on the first child and click on the brand envelope. It will open the child's data. So the weight of this child is 8.6, length is 73.25, BMI 16, recumbent, no edema, head circumference 43.45. If I want to adjust or do anything, I can do that. And this was imported from age month. And this is the data that where it was imported from. So you see that you can then the motor milestone, the child was assessed. The child was assessed for three key motor milestones. The child passed them green, 1, 2, 3. And then the other 3 were blue. At the address data, the child's address was not captured. So I have been able to look at this child using the brand envelope to open the child's details. So that is how you can view the child. Now you can still delete a child by clicking on the child and clicking on the red arrow. So you can click on the red X button to delete a child from the survey. You can do that. So you can select a child and click S to do that. Then you have the filter iterative. You can filter the records using the condition that you set. So some of these things, you go back to the manual and it will explain how these things are done in a very elaborate manner. So that's how we look at it. Then let's look at the anthropometric indicators result. For each child, the result is still below, just like in the last 2 models. So that's the way you can still see it. And the interpretation is still the same. You can plot the chart for each child to look at how the child was. If you plot this, you will see the child and there's a difference you observe here in this chart, that what you can see here now is a single point. You can't see multiple points. So the only place you can see multiple points is in individual assessment. So let me still share. So the only place you can see multiple points is individual assessment. You can't see multiple points in nutritional anthropometric calculator, and you can't see it in nutritional survey. So that's how you can do this. Then what of the results? You can export your results. You can export your results by clicking on top. On top, you can export your results by clicking on top here. At this point, these three are actually used for the results. You can export results from here. Then the non-applicable, some of the data you have the indicators showing non-applicable. So if you see non-applicable, that means that the data is not within for some of the indicators. Let me see if I can see any indicator that is flagged. So no indicator is flagged here, but we are going to still see one or two indicators maybe later that is flagged. So I have explained what that means. Then you can still change the standard you are using. You can still change the standard you are using by going to survey option. If you click on this, if you click on current survey and select survey options, if you click on these survey options, now this will show you what I have been talking about in the black box and all the rest of them. So I don't know if you are able to see the survey options. Can you see the survey options? Can somebody see? Hello? Hello, can we see the survey options?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So when you look at the survey option, you'll now find out that you'll now find out that
we can see.
Yeah. So when you look at the survey option, you can now see, like the question that was asked yesterday, whether NCHS is still relevant. WHO have still provided that you may decide to use NCHS for those that want to work in that using that standard. You may decide to choose WHO, but WHO standard is the default standard. Then you can decide to choose your age groups. You can decide to categorize your age groups. Now, you can also decide to categorize your Z-score in the range you want them to be. You can categorize the maximum and the minimum range that you want them to be. So these are all things that you can do for this. Now, if we reduce this to -3, if we increase it to -3, minimum and +3 for weight for length, and we say, okay, you will now see that any Z-score that is above that will be flagged and it will show black because you have decided to reset it. So any Z-score that is above those values will show black because you have decided to reset it. So that's this is quite flexible that you can decide to do anything you want using the survey option. So for the result, you can always try it out. You can present your results. So in the result for the data entry, this one now, if you click on it, it will bring out a graphical representation of your result. But remember, this is a survey, so it's going to look at it as a general sample size. Now you can now look at this according to sex. So the green is the WHO normal distribution curve. Now you are now comparing your own sample, the distribution of your sample for each of the indicators that you want to check. So you see how your own indicator is quite different from the normal distribution curve. So it's something that you can do. So my system has done, just give me some minutes. So it's something that you can do, and you can just play around it to understand what you can do with the result section. So that result is essentially the normal distribution curve of your sample size or your population, as the case may be. So let me share again. Okay, so that's what you can do with this. Now, for the other results, for the other reports, that's writing your report, because with the WHO Anthro, you can write your report immediately you come back from the field. You can do preliminary analysis of your result by going to the report here. Look, this Excel sheets here, look at those Excel icons. If you click it, it's going to export your result to Excel. Say, do you want to perform cluster analysis? I say no. Standard restricted. Okay, standard result. Now it will ask me to save. Let me save it on my desktop. So I now save it. So I have saved my report. It exported it in Excel. So you will see how the report will look like. So it's creating my report now. All right, so my report is ready. So in this report, you see that it has analyzed it according to age group and sex, and it gives you frequency and percentage. I don't know if you are seeing my...
You're not sharing your Excel screen.
Okay, so let me stop sharing the other one and bring out the Excel screen. Okay, so this is how the result came out. You can see now, right?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so it has analyzed it according to the Z-scores. And then it has given you an idea of by age group, by sex, and total. So, and for all the indicators. So you see, this is for males now. This is for males. So it will analyze to give you the percentage of all the other diseases. But if you observe, this is not as robust as when you run your statistical analysis using SPSS or Stata or all the rest of them. So still telling you that what the WHO Anthro does is preliminary analysis of frequency and percentage. It doesn't go into in-depth analysis of your work. So you may still need to use some statistical analysis to analyze the final survey. So that is for the Nutrition survey. But there is a question that somebody may likely ask. And that question will be, what if I collected my data not with WHO Anthro, but it is in Microsoft Excel, or I keyed it in SPSS or SATA or whatever? How can I analyze it in WHO Anthro? Let's say that I keyed it in Microsoft Excel. How can I analyze that? So you can do that. You do not need to start keying in the respondents one after another again. You can do that. Now, it took me time to understand how to do that when I got stuck with having about 500 data of children about 500 children. And I was asked to analyze it with WHO Anthro. And there is no way you can copy and paste, but you can import your data. But before you import, you must have organized the data in a form that the WHO Anthro can accept. So we are going to do a little assessment now on how we can import data from what you keyed in Excel into WHO Anthro to get the nutritional status of the children. So what I will do now is that I'm going to open an Excel document that I have. Okay, so this Excel document, I have these children keyed in the Excel document. So just their sex, their age, their weight, and the height. So this is in Excel, but I want to bring this data now in WHO Anthro. So I don't need to start typing the children one after the other. But I need to make sure that the variables are in the form that WHO Anthro accepts. For instance, the sex. So I either have male and female, or I have 1 and 2. 1 indicating male, 2 indicating female. So you must have it in that order. Then for the age must be in months. Now the weight must be in kg, and the height must be in cm. Now, if I did recumbent, I can add here recumbent or whether edema or not. But if these were the measurements I just took and I want to import it, fine and good. So I have about how many children now? I have some that are about 110 children. So I have about 110 children in my Excel document. So how do I import it? First, I have to save this document in a form that WHO Anthro will recognize. So I want us to pay attention. I'm going to go slowly for us to get this. 1, I will save this document after I have cleaned it and make sure that it's ready. I'll go to File. Then I will go to Save As. So I will click Save As. When the Save As comes up, I'm going to save it Webinar Training WHO. Then Save As Type. I'm going to choose the Save As Type. I will click down and I will look for this tab, Text Tab Delimited. Text Tab Delimited. That is the format that I have over the years observed that works for the export. If you put CSV comma delimited, it doesn't capture all the variables singly. So this is the one that after all my trial and error, I was able to find out that it's the one that gives the variables separately for you to be imported into WHO Anthro. So I'm going to click on it, Text Tab Delimited. Now I will now save. It's going to prompt you to, do you want to keep the workbook in this format? You say yes. It will say come up again to ask questions. You say okay. So when you save that, you have saved it. Then you have to close this document. So if you click close of this document, it will ask you, do you want to save the changes you made to this? You say yes. It will still ask all these questions again, say yes. So you have now closed this document. Now, the next thing now is that I am going to now open my WHO, the nutritional survey. I'll open the nutritional survey. Let me open the nutritional survey. Okay. Okay, so the nutritional survey, I will now open it. So what will I do now? I will now go to nutritional survey at the top here, click on it. And then say import from file, import from file. When I click this import from file, I will now look for where I saved it. So I saved it in the desktop. So I'll go to desktop, look at it here. Presentation folder, I will double click it. You see the document here. Web training WHO. I will click on it. And then I will open. Now, when I open this, it's going to bring out this for me to align my variables with what is in my data. So you see that the sex was already accepted, so sex, but there is no age. So I'll go to my age in months and click, and then select the age in months in my data to align it. The weight, I will select. Then the height, I will select. These were the 4 variables that were in my Excel document. So I must align all of them. So they are now aligned. If you had other variables in the Excel, you must align it to the variable in WHO. And then you say, okay, it's all there. It has come in there. So I didn't need to start typing all of them one after the other. So they are all there now. So if you observe some flag, look at this. You have a Z-score of BAZ 6.05. So what this thing is showing you, we call it flagging. What this thing is showing you is that there is a value there that may not be realistic. And look at this value. Check it here. The weight of the child is 16.40. And this child is 24 months. So this thing is very high. So it needs you to go back and check whether this was exactly what you obtained or was it a mistake. So the WHO Anthro can help you to clean up your data. And I also use this to catch my students that forge data for me. Because if you forge data, there will be so many flags. So you see this one now, this child that is 18 months, having a height of 75 and a weight of 10 point, no, a weight of 16. This child now, 18 months, 16 and 75. So the weight for height Z-score will tell you that the problem may be coming from either the weight or the height. Now, this one also is showing you age 17, weight 14, and height 68. So it's flagged to ask you to make sure that there is no problem with these values. So I think with this now, I think we have actually done justice to the three models. And I believe that we must have learned one or two things from these models. So I can now close this and request, go back to my slide presentation, and then request anybody that has any question can stay ask. Anybody that has any question can stay asked.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So this is the end of the slide presentation, right?
Yes, that's the end of the. We have done the three models, so that's the last model there, and yeah, that's the end of the presentation from my own end.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. This has been impactful. So much information that we are going to digest it. All right.
Yes.
So before we go to the Q&A section, we are going to be taking the post test. So just drop your questions in the chat box, but we are going to be launching the post training test, then we'll take your questions. So I'm going to be putting that up right now. So kindly answer the questions, and once we are done with that, we can move ahead to the question and answer session. So please confirm if you can see the survey on your screen. Can we see the survey? It has been launched. So please start taking the test. Once we're done with that, attend to your question. Please confirm in the chat box if you can see the survey. Okay, some people are seeing it, some people are not seeing it. All right, let me do that again. I'll just be launching so that those first call. Okay, so I'll launch again. Okay, so I've relaunched. Can we see that now? Please confirm in the chat box. Okay, yes, some people are seeing this now. Please, let's go ahead and take the test. So if you're on the QR code is also on the screen, so you can scan that and start. So some people have started taking it. Let me see, it has been launched. So while the survey is going on, please just get your questions and chat box. It's completely anonymous. Please, let's take the test. It's completely anonymous. We don't know who. And we just publish the result and we all see. It's for us to know how far we've gone. We took one before the training started and the last one so that we can also assess ourselves, know how far we've gone, and how much we have learned. So once you are done with the survey, we'll go to the question and answer section. So let's try and do this. Thank you for taking the survey. We are getting responses. So just continue taking it. All right, some of us are done. Wow, that's nice. So let's just continue. Please take the post test. So this is to know how far and how much impact we believe, and to know how much we meant as well. So this is very important. Please continue to take the test. It's still ongoing. Thank you very much for doing that. We need more people to take the test, please. So once you are done taking the test, you can drop your question on the chat box and read it out once you are done with this. Thank you very much for taking the test.
How do I see my score?
We'll publish it once we are done, once we close the poll. So we need more people to take the post test. We know we've exceeded our time, but we need to get more. Thank you for doing this. Drop your questions in the chat box and we'll attend to them very soon. All right. Thank you all for doing this. So we're about to close the pool. If you still want to take the, if you've not started, please you can still take it. We'll soon close the pool so that we can go ahead. We can go back to the question and answer session. I'm sure we've all had an amazing time. All right, so we just have about 30 seconds before we close the pool. Those of us on YouTube, we apologize that you are missing out on this, but you are not missing out on so much. Okay, so we're closing the pool now. Wow. Amazing responses. All right. Thank you all for doing this. So we'll be closing the quiz now. Thank you. Thank you so much. So can we see our results now? We've closed them before. So we'll just discuss the results now. Can we see our results? Oh, some are seeing, some are not seeing. Let's see. Okay, yes, we are seeing it. All right, all right. Thank you very much for the rest. Okay, so I'll just go through the post-test results. All right, so for the first question, it says, wow, for the first question, 98% of us got the questions correct. 98%, that is almost all of us. So that is really wonderful. We are learning a lot. For the second question, number 2. %90 correct response. Wow. 90%. We are really doing well. For the third question, 92% of us got the question correctly. Which of this software is best used to assess anthropometric status? For the fourth question, 71% correct response. For the fifth questions, we have 58%. Okay. So it says which of the standard/references we are primarily used to develop the WHO Anthro. So 98. Wow, that 98, that is impressive. Okay, so for the sixth question, we have 56% accuracy. All right. Number 7, 60% accuracy. Number 8, 75. Wow. Number 9, which of this is not a basic anthropometric block for children? 83%. Wow, we are really learning. And for the last question, 48%. All right. So this is the result from the tests. Thank you all. So the recordings of this is available on our YouTube page. So we're already seeing some questions about that. So let's just move over to the question and answer session so that we can wrap up for the day. Thank you all for participating in this. It has really been amazing. Okay, so I'll just go over to our question and answer session. Yeah, someone has helped us. Okay, so the recordings, the link to YouTube is actually on the wow, 10 over 10. Wow, wow. Thank you. Some people are publishing their results on the group chat. That is wonderful. Okay, so let's go over to our question and answer session. So while this is going on, we are going to be dropping a link to our survey. So for your feedback. So we need your feedback so that we can know how best to serve you. So please, we'll drop the link to the survey on the chat box now. We'll drop it now while the question and answer session is going on. So I'll start by reading out some of our questions now. So please look out for the survey. So this is not the post test, this is the survey. All right, so I'll go through the question and answer session. So those of us on YouTube as well, please drop it and we are going to read it out. Okay, so I have one question. It says, one of the questions we have says, what about Anthroplus? Does it use the same process? Sir, over to you.
Yes, like I stated before, all that I have discussed in Anthro applies to Anthroplus. If you open the Anthroplus software, it exactly looks the same as the Anthro. So everything that we have discussed, where we have a difference in the categories of the anthropometric indicators, I have shown that the 4 indicators for the WHO Anthro and the 3 indicators for the Anthroplus, I have showed that where you have possibility of overweight, and in this other part, there is no thing like possibility of overweight. What you have there is exactly overweight, obese, severely obese. So the software, the both are the same, uses the same principles. So everything I have discussed in this is the same in the other one. So that's for that question.
So we have a question on YouTube. It says, if you get the height or length in cm, are you to convert it to meter, knowing the formula for BMI of an individual in weight to kg and height to meter?
I still mention this, that BMI for children is not the same as BMI for adults. In children, the indicator is BMI for age, and not just BMI. In adults, you have it as BMI, where your category is 18.5 cutoff. But in children is BMI for age, and you assess it with a Z-score. So the BMI that is computed there, you shouldn't go on to categorize it as for adults, please. And secondly, the anthropometric for children measures height in cm. So if you're using WHO Anthro software, which we all recommend, you do not need to start doing all this manual conversion. All you need to do is to make sure that you measure or you obtain your measurements using the standard units, which is weight, kg, kilogram, and height or length, cm, centimeters. That's just what you need. And then you input it there, it will calculate.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I hope we are clear on that. All right, so the next question says, can the nutritional survey be used for different children at different times, like in individual assessments?
Yes, in individual assessment, it is for one child. You can record the child for individual assessment. You can record 100 children for individual assessment, but you need to assess them individually. So it's not like a survey where you bring everything together. So for individual assessment, you particularly want to use it to assess the growth pattern, the growth trajectory for the child. You want to track the growth of the child individually. But the software can accommodate so many children that all you need to do is to click them, open their file, and check for a particular child. So each software has its own function, and you have to work with it in that function. So the anthropometric, the individual assessment is actually there to help you in your work. If you are in clinical practice, that children are coming every day and you need to assess them. So you just have them. Once a child comes, you open the folder and click on the child, open the folder for the child, and still measure the child, impute for the child, and monitoring the growth. And the mother can still see it in that way. But it's different from the survey. Survey is one child for a time, and you are having so many children, just like we do our projects in the institutions. So you have all the children and you run analysis for them. The analysis you are going to run for survey will essentially be finding the prevalence of malnutrition, prevalence of wasting, prevalence of stunting, prevalence of underweight, and the rest of them. And then you can now export the data. You can export the result that we have obtained in WHO Anthro into Excel, which you can still copy and paste in your IBM SPSS statistics software or Stata software. Right now, the new version of Stata has in it WHO Anthro standards that you can use. They have incorporated that. And that's why I'm encouraging most of you to go back and read more. I don't know so much about the new things that have come up in WHO Anthro and the other softwares. So what I know is the extent that I have used it. And I know that there are more things you can do with WHO Anthro, which some of you can comfortably identify. Just try to explore. So that's for that.
All right, thank you, sir. Kindly fill our feedback form, please. Is on the chat box. And for those of us on YouTube, it has also been pinned there. So please help us fill that. Okay, someone is asking, please, can the result of the post-test be shown? Oh, okay. I will do that. That is not for maybe I'll do that. So let me get another question. So this is a question for you to kindly drop your question as well. So okay, we have another question. At what point should the calculator be used? At what point should the nutritional survey be used, and at what point should we use the individual assessment?
So you use the model according to what you want. So the calculator is used as a calculator, 1-point assessment. A child comes, or you are in the field and you want to assess one child, you assess the child, gets the result, and move on, just like a calculator. The individual assessment is used to check the growth pattern of a child. The growth pattern of a child. You cannot get the growth pattern of a child using anthropometric calculator. Neither can you get it using the nutritional survey model. So each one has its own work. Then the nutritional survey is used for your general survey to analyze for so many children that you measured at a point in time. The point in time we mean doesn't mean that all of them came at the same time. No, just like we carry out our survey, you may have measured 100 children in 3 locations. You went to one location on one day, got 50, got 20, and you are keying all of them into the database. At the end of the whole day, you analyze them to get the prevalence of a problem within that location that you sampled. So that's what each of them have their different work. But what all of them do is that they get for you the Z-score of these children. They get for you the Z-score. So you can further classify them using that chart I gave you. So those charts, I always have it handy because they help me to classify when I export my data from WHO Anthro to SPSS. So if I copy my score, because what I just wanted from WHO Anthro is the Z-scores. I will now categorize the z-scores, run my correlations, run my regressions, run my frequency and percentage using a statistical software. That's what you essentially use this Nutritional to get your z-scores. Those z-scores are essentially nutritional values of. So each one has its own work depending on what you want to.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, we have one more question. It says, is it possible to have different z-scores with the different modules?
Different z-score for different models? No, if the child has the same age, the same weight, the same height, the same all assessment, you expected to have the same z-score. So you cannot have different z-score, except where some of your values are approximated. Let's say that your date of visit for one model is different from the date of visit from another model. Maybe it will affect the age of the child. Because if I assess a child on Monday and then I assess the same child on Friday, I don't expect the same child to have the same day. Now, there is something that we still have to understand. The database that was used to build the WHO Anthro and even the Anthro standard was based on the age in days. So that is the reason why when you see the WHO Anthro output, you will see their age in days. So you may have a child that is 11 months, but when you are calculating with respect to the number of days, the child may have 355 days in one, 382 days in another, but all of them may be within the same 11 months or 1 year. So we have to understand that those key components, and that is the reason why the software is very sensitive, because the amount of data generated during the MGRS, the MGRO survey, the MGRS, were so much that it captured almost everything that can shift in a child, even to the extent of the number of days that the child is measured. So if you calculated a child on Monday and calculated a child on Friday, you may likely get a different z-score because at the back end, the database is calculating in days, not just in months. But the output and what you feed in can be in months, but the system calculates it in days. So that's one thing we have to understand.
All right, thank you, sir. Wow. So we've exceeded our time with about 50 minutes. Wow, and many of us are still on this call. That means this session has been very interesting. So please fill our survey form, and you can also please follow us on our social media on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You can see that on the chat box. So some of our questions have actually been answered previously. So kindly go back to the YouTube videos and you can watch them, and your questions will actually be answered because you mentioned a lot of this during the training. So sir, we really appreciate having you here. So there be any form of certificate given at the end of the year? We'll be giving a certificate at the end of the year. So sir, we are really grateful to have you here. In my final year, I was privileged to learn how to use this software. You are the one that taught a group of us how to use the software in my final year, and I can say I've been able to pay some bills using the skill. So thank you, sir. It has really been helpful. Thank you. So we will be closing right now. So kindly fill our survey form. It's on the chat box. Thank you all. People are dropping their favorite emojis and they are really appreciating you on the chat box. So we are grateful. I'm sure most of us have enjoyed it. The recording will be available on our YouTube. So kindly go to our YouTube.
Yeah, let me give my final word. I want to thank everyone that has stayed up to this time since yesterday, irrespective of the challenges. One thing I want to assure you is that the software is quite easy. All you need is to dedicate your time, and please go and read the manual. There are several things in the manual that we couldn't take. I myself, there are several things that I couldn't even explain here, but go and read the manual, learn it, use it. The more you use it, the more you are competent in using it. And at the end of the whole day, you'll find that your research, your work will be easier, and you will do marvelous with the software. And also know the background behind whatever you do, because that's what distinguishes you from being a technician. You should know how to do it and why you are doing it. Not just how to use the WHO Anthro, but you should know why you are using it, why the indicators are there. Any challenge, your background will help you know how to solve that problem. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the organizers of this program, the NDII. I appreciate you for all that you have been doing. I hope you will do more. And I believe that one of us here will be called up maybe next year, do this training for the younger ones. And I believe that we will be able to do that very well. Thank you, and have a good night rest.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
So the certificate will be given automatically after the end of the session. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, sir, once again. There's so much positive feedback on the group chat. So thank you so much. So please fill our survey so that we can also know how to serve you better and what other interesting training you want us to bring to you, because we are here to serve. We are here to improve your skill, especially as a researcher. Thank you for thanking the organizers. We are grateful for appreciating us. Thank you. So kindly fill our survey form. Kindly fill our survey so that we can know the next webinar to bring. I'm sure as you've enjoyed this, you will also enjoy the next one bringing to you. The link to the form is on the chat box. So check the chat box. Yes, you'll be getting a certificate in your mail. You'll be getting the certificate in your email. Yes, it will be sent to your email. So the link to the survey is on the chat box. Kindly fill it. All right. Thank you all. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful week and a wonderful night ahead. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being patient. Stay with us for almost 1 hour over the time. So thank you all, and have a good night, everybody. Good night.